Hello, this is Daniel Mart, and today I'm going to be doing another top 10 list. This time around, I'm going to be doing my top 10 favorite, or what I consider the best Pixar films. So up until now, we've had about 15, 16 films in total. Um, so yeah, 15, 15 or 16 Pixar films in total. And basically, to name the films in order, basically of when it came out. The first one was Toy Story, then Bugs Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Cars, Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, Toy Story 3, Cars 2, Brave, Monsters University, and Inside Out. So yeah, with about in the future we're supposed to get about 5 or 6 more Pixar films, which include The Good Dinosaur, Finding Dory, Toy Story 4, Incredibles 2, Cars 3, an untitled film on Dia de los Muertos, and 2 other unannounced films. So we have 8 more to come in play in the next upcoming years. With the most recent one that's supposed to come out is The Good Dinosaur at November 25, 2015. Um, so yeah, basically, as I said before, up until now, we've only had 15 films released. Again, Toy Story, Bugs Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, Incredibles, Cars, Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, Toy Story 3, Cars 2, Brave, and Monsters University, and Inside Out. So yeah, basically in this video, I'm gonna be saying my favorite, what I consider the best Pixar films, and my favorite Pixar films, of all time, I guess. So yeah, but first off, let's start off with our honorable mentions here, which include 5 films, starting now. So on the number 10 spot, we have Up. So yeah, this movie's probably way higher on most people's list. Usually within the top 5. But for me, I thought it was, with most Pixar films, I thought it was a great movie. Um, the one thing that I have a problem with, and usually this happens with most films, not just Pixar, but with a lot of films, is when it's overrated after a certain amount of time. And I think this is one of those films that it really doesn't deserve that overrating, if you know what I mean. It's a really great film, and it does deserve all the nominations it got, such as Best Picture. And I believe it won, and I believe it was also nominated for Best Picture when it came out back in what, 2009, 2010. And yes, I do think that was warranted. However, I do still think people blow it out of proportions a bit. Now the characters are lovable; they are great. Doug is my favorite character. He's really funny. He has like ADHD or something. He's talking to Carl and whatnot. Carl and Russell, and he's like, squirrel. So yeah, that was probably one of the funniest scenes in that movie. It has a lot of heart. The only thing I just kind of, I don't know, I've never heard people mention this about the movie Up. It's kind of a plot hole in my opinion. But Carl, he sees the main antagonist basically at the beginning of the film in a movie or whatever in the theater when he's about 8 years old, and the guy should be about, let's say, 40 years old. Okay, I forgot the antagonist's name. However, when he goes there, Carl is already like, he should be like 80 years old, and the antagonist is still alive, so he should be in the hundreds. So he should be about 120 from or something like that. Logically, 120 or 130, 140. Basically, it really doesn't make sense as to why the main antagonist is still alive. I just find it really funny how nobody ever mentions that plot hole. Something that, it doesn't really bother me, but it's just like something I always like, wait, that doesn't really make sense because of timing, but whatever. Still a really fun movie, really heartfelt movie in my opinion. Again, Doug, one of the funniest characters, one of the funniest sidekick characters we have in a Pixar movie. Russell, really likable. Someone you can relate to, especially even if you're not a Boy Scout or you've never been part of the Boy Scouts, you can still relate to him. He's always trying to help the people around him. And yeah, so again, for my number 10 spot, we have Up. On to my number 9. At the number 9 spot, we have A Bug's Life. Probably one of the more or the most underrated Pixar film. Because to be fair, it came out right after Toy Story, which was the most revolutionary animated film up until that time. Because we've never seen CGI films, so obviously this one's gonna come underrated. As many people were paying attention to that, but still, really great film, really great story in my opinion. Because you have this ant Flick who's basically all he's trying to do is gain acceptance into his ant colony, and the only way he could gain acceptance is if he brings basically the circus to his colony to basically fight off the locust. And honestly, I thought it was a really ingenious way, or is that the correct word? Ingenious or whatever. I thought it was really clever how they actually beat the locust, or I believe they're locust or grasshoppers, at the end of the film. Really innovative in my opinion. And Flick, the main character, he was a very innovative character, and I really did like him. I think he is one of the more likable characters in the Pixar universe, I guess you could say. I mean, all of them are likable, but he's one of them I really did like, because from a really young age, I really liked discovering stuff. Seeing how things worked. And I think when I first watched this, I could always, I don't want to say count on him, but I always like related to him, how he always wanted to discover stuff, and how I always wanted to discover stuff. So yeah, now I'm still kind of curious about stuff. I mean, nowadays I'm more curious about filmmaking, so whatever. Yeah, but usually back then I wanted to build like rockets or a car, or learn how to drive a car, which God knows I would have probably crashed a car at 5 years old. So yeah, but still really great film in my opinion. The most underrated Pixar film, to say the least. And yeah, now onto the number 8 spot. At number eight, I have Toy Story 2. Another movie that's probably higher on most people's list. For me, the one thing, I will say it's a great movie, but the one thing that keeps it below, or not as high as it should be or could be, is the fact that I actually watched this movie a little too late, I guess, if that's the proper words. Um, I didn't watch this movie till like 2011 or 2012, and I thought it was a great movie regardless. However, I think that if I would have watched it back then when I was younger, I probably would have had a stronger connection, like the movie more. Still, it's a great movie. The voice casting, as with the first one, was great, and again, it's really funny. It does have those heartfelt emotions that the original Toy Story had, and overall, it was a good film. And again, kind of still has that feeling, I guess you could say, of people growing up with Andy. I don't. Well, he kind of forgot his toys in a sense, but it still kind of shows how Andy's growing up through the toys, quote unquote. And we also have the introduction of Jesse. We have the introduction of Jesse and the horse, and the little aliens, which are pretty funny. And yeah, overall, it's a great film. I think the only one issue I'd had the only issue that I have with it that prevents it from putting it higher on my list is the fact that I watched it a little too late, in life. Still though, great film. So yeah, on to the number 7 spot, which will have to be. And at number 7, we have The Incredibles. So yeah, one of the best films by Pixar. Kind of sad that it isn't higher on the list, but that just comes to show how many great Pixar films there is, in my opinion. Um, Really fun, and in my opinion, The Incredibles came out at a time when superhero films were just starting to get popular, because this movie came out like around 2004, 2005, 2003, around that time, around the same time when the Fantastic Four were getting their movies, when the Blade trilogy or the Blade movie franchise was just ending, when the X-Men franchise was going full boom, when the Spider-Man franchise, Spider-Man 1 and 2 were just coming out, when Batman Begins was about to come out. And this was one of the first original superhero movies to be conceived, and again, among others, DC and Marvel movies that were just starting to pop up at the time, again, with X-Men, Batman, Iron Man was about to start up in a couple of years, whatever. It was kind of nice to see, it was really nice to see an original film, an original superhero film. And normally this is something I normally don't say for animated movies. But I think normally I don't say that someone stole the show in an animated movie or stole the movie, in my opinion. But Frozone, Samuel L. Jackson, one of the best casting choices for an animated movie. He wasn't in it. He wasn't in the movie that much, but he was really funny in the movie. One of the best lines is that he needs to save the greater good of mankind or something, and then his wife's like, "I greater good, I am the greater good." That was one of the funniest scenes in the movie and in like Pixar as general. In general, it's kind of sad that he wasn't in the film that much. But still, I mean, you had the Incredibles, you had that family dynamic, which was really touching because you had Mr. Incredible, you had the Parrs, which are the last name of their surname. So you had the Parr family, and they're borderline divorced at that point because you had Mr. Incredible who wanted to do his stuff, and relive the glory days, and then you had Elastigirl who said, yeah, we've had it, but big whoop, and time to move on. So you also had that family dynamic, and it was really touching. I really did like it in my opinion. It was incredible, and I saw it recently, like a couple of days ago, and again, really incredible film in my opinion. Kind of sad to say, I am a bit sad to say that it isn't higher on the list, but again, that just comes to show how many great films comes out of this studio alone. So yeah, now onto the number 6 spot, which would have to be at number 6, we have Ratatouille. Basically, Pixar, and to a lesser extent, Disney, basically their excuse for food porn. Basically, it's food porn. There's really nothing else to say it, or nothing, no other way to say it. But still, it's really interesting to see a rat cooking, and it just comes to show how much imagination Pixar still had at the time. Despite their talking toys, and a fish finding his son, you still had these other heartfelt movies, again, like The Incredibles, The Superpower Family, and now Ratatouille, about a rat who just wanted to cook and follow his dreams. And that's basically what the whole film was about. It was basically follow your dreams, no matter what it is, follow your dreams, no matter how it is, no matter how big or how small the dreams are. And it basically just shows two things that technically shouldn't be going together realistically, because how many times do you want to see a rat cooking your food in real life? Like, not at all. In a Pixar film, however, that's one of the coolest things out there. So, yeah, and also another great thing about it is that it doesn't shove the message right down your throat. And then you also had the critic, the food critic. He was a pretty good addition to the cast or the characters. And I really didn't see him as an antagonist to Ratatouille, to Remy, and I didn't really see him as an antagonist. I just found him there to be more of not an anti-hero, but like one of those types of people who's just kind of in the gray. Now, the major antagonist was the other cook. He was a real douchebag. But still really happy to see Remy at the end succeed, get what he wants, get his own restaurant. Linguini, he was still there. He was pretty cool too. You had Gustav, showing Remy how to cook. Again, that was pretty interesting. I really did like that aspect. And again, Linguini gets his restaurant, he gets a girl, and all well and ends well. So yeah, for my number 6 option, we have Ratatouille. Now, onto the top 5. What are they gonna be? I don't know. Let's find out. Okay, so at number 5, I decided to put, for number 5, Toy Story, the original Toy Story. Basically, the first one that came out back in 1999, 1998, if I'm not mistaken. Incredible film, in my opinion. It revolutionized what animated films were at that point. Because up until that point, nobody ever saw something such as this. A film, basically, that's all CGI, or, CGI, because up until then it was all drawings. If you guys remember to other previous Disney films, like The Little Mermaid or Aladdin, Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, or stuff like that, they're again hand drawn, celluloid, whatever. Here it was all CGI, and it was revolutionary for a time, and it was overall it was a pretty good story in my opinion. Talking Toy is something we've never seen. It was very imaginative and really brought into the forefront what Pixar could be and what it has become up until this point. In my opinion, really fantastic film, revolutionized filmmaking, revolutionized animated film up until that point. And again, the plot is actually pretty basic in my opinion, but it's pretty strong still. You have a couple toys who basically get lost and end up in a neighbor's house who just turned out to be a demented little kid. Um, so we've seen elements of that in other films previously. Usually I think of The Shining for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why I always think of The Shining or Shining when I watch that movie for some reason. Some people say it has to do with carpet patterns. Apparently, they're the same thing in The Shining and Toy Story. Toy Story, that could make sense. So I guess that's why I think of The Shining every time I watch Toy Story. But still, yeah, an incredible film, and again, it revolutionized what we've seen up until then, and it revolutionized filmmaking. So yeah, now onto my number 4 choice. Okay, so in the number 4 spot, we have Monsters Inc. So yeah, for honorable mentions, I put Monsters University, and I really wanted to put it as number 10. It was for me. It was between Up and Monsters University. At the end, as you guys know, I put Up, and I put Monsters University as the honorable mention, and it was a fantastic prequel to another fantastic Pixar film, hence Monsters Inc. Sorry, in the number 4 spot. Because you have Sully, he's this big hulking monster basically, but he's really lovable. And in Pixar, we normally don't get monsters or these types of creatures. We normally get, we have our robots like in Wall-E, we have superheroes in The Incredibles, we have our toys in the Toy Story franchise. Um, we have our emotions in Inside Out, Bugs in Bugs Life, and animals just Finding Nemo, and also Bugs Life, Up, and Ratatouille as well. But we never, aside from Monsters University and Monsters Inc., we've never really seen monsters as the forefront characters. And in my opinion, this was really a great film, and I really did like how they kind of pushed, um, not the boundaries, but they kind of pushed the message, I guess you could say, because they didn't really shove it in your face, but they did give us a message that's better to laugh than be scared or whatever. And I thought that was a really great message. And for the longest time, this was one of my favorite animated films of all time, up until I was like 10 or 11. And then I decided to watch other Pixar films and other movies in general. When I was, how when you're 10 or 11, you start discovering the world around you. That was kind of me. And I can't deny Monsters Inc. Still a great movie. Really love it. Billy Crystal, I believe, as Mike Wazowski, really funny in my opinion. Again, one of the funniest characters in the in any Pixar movie. And again, I usually never say this for an animated film, but he stole the show in my opinion. Mike Wazowski, the character stole the show. Really funny in my opinion. That's not to say that Sully was a bad character. Again, Sully, he was a really great character, going from this monster who just scared children to get points, and at the end, we have Boo who's kind of there, and Boo could have been hit or miss. She could have been really annoying or really likable, and she turned out to be really likable, really cute, really good character in my opinion, and she showed Sully that laughter again is better than scaring people, children. So overall, really did like that. And Randall, he's really nasty, but really creepy in my opinion, because he could camouflage and all that shit. And then Warburton, I believe, the weird squid octopus thing, again, really creepy. Their plans for using the scare energy of children, that was really creepy. So yeah, again, really fantastic film, and it spun off one of the best prequels, in my opinion, in movie history, which was Monsters University. And again, another great animated film. Pretty sad I couldn't put it in the top 10 Monsters University, but Up, in my opinion, is still a little bit better than MU. So yeah, on my number 4 spot, Monsters Inc. Now onto my number 3, which would have to be. And at number 3, we appropriately have Toy Story 3. So yeah, the best ending basically for this trilogy, or for the meantime. Yeah, for the meantime, because we are gonna have Toy Story 4 by like in the next like 2 or 3 years. So yeah, but for now, best ending for a pretty great trilogy in my opinion. Um, I mean, you basically have the toys, and we've seen them kind of grown up, I guess, because we've seen the toys be with Andy for so long, more or less, and now him to just give them up away, give them all away to a daycare, more or less, and then you have Lotto, the bear, who's one of the most manipulative characters I've ever seen in a movie, able to being able to look all great and good, and him having a really dark backstory as these films go. Because as these films go, for Toy Story films, he has a pretty dark backstory. His owner abandoned him, gets another version of him or another copy of him or whatever, gets another Lotso bear, and then he basically finds a daycare. And I mean, yeah, and then at the end, so the ending is so emotional. I mean, again, I never cried in films. I've never cried in a film, never have, and I mean, will I ever cry in the future in films? Probably, I don't know. But again, that's one of those tear-jerking moments. Um, I mean, and yeah, and it really did bring sadness to me when I saw the ending. Them basically accepting death. Really sad in my opinion. But all well ends well. As we have the sequel. The toys get rescued by the little green goblins or whatever, the little minions or whatever they were, which were pretty fun. They were funny, and as I said, with the Toy Story 2 review, I guess you could say, during this video, the little green goblins or whatever they were, the little green aliens, they were pretty funny, and again, in this one, they were pretty funny again, and of all people to actually rescue Woody and the gang, Woody, Buzz, and the gang, to have those little green goblins or whatever. I keep wanting to say Minions because the Minions movie comes out in a couple days. But the little green aliens, to save the Woody and the gang, that was just pretty cool in my opinion. I mean, again, all well ends well, and yeah, now let's see how Toy Story 4 comes out. Still, I don't think they should do Toy Story 4 in my opinion. I mean, could it be great? Yeah, it probably will be great, but in my opinion, I'm still skeptic about it, about Toy Story 4. So yeah, now onto my number 2, which is... At number 2, we have Finding Nemo. So yeah, this along with Monsters, Inc. were some of my favorite animated movies for the time. Really great. Nemo, one of the best characters. I mean, I know I've been saying this a lot throughout this video. This character's one of the best characters. This, that, and that. But again, when it comes to Pixar, they make incredible films. They make really likable and really great characters. And with this film, it's no exception. Nemo is another great character. Marlin, another great character. Dory, another great character. Everybody here is just on point. And again, the voice casting for every single character in this movie is just perfect. Same thing with every other previous Pixar movie that I've said and will mention for number 1. The voice casting is just perfect. But here, I think they do a fantastic job. Out of every single Pixar movie, I think they do the best job in actually casting the voice actors. I mean, again, Ellen DeGeneres as Dory. That was hilarious. Though I will say that for the longest time, I did think Dory was a man or a dude or a guy. Again, didn't know if she was a girl. I don't think they ever mentioned it in the film, so there's that. But yeah, really funny. I mean, I really did like how Dory, she was like, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. That was hilarious. And then you have Nemo. He's in that fish tank up in the dentist's office, and that little girl, she was creepy. Oh my gosh. She was weird and creepy in the good way. And you want to feel uncomfortable every time you see that little girl. And they do a great job at portraying, how uncomfortable it is to be around that girl. Also, their escape plans, that was pretty funny. and I really want to know or wonder if we're gonna see everybody else from the fish tank in Finding Dory in next year or in 2 years Finding Dory. I really want to see if they're ever gonna mention them again. Same thing with Crush, yo bro, the turtle, Crush the turtle. I really want to know if we're ever gonna see him again. Hopefully we do. Same thing with the ones from the fish tank. Overall, really great movie. So yeah, just to go over it, my honorable mentions were Inside Out, Monsters University, Brave, Cars, and Cars 2. And from 10 to 2, it's been Up, Bugs Life, Toy Story 2, The Incredibles, Ratatouille, Toy Story, Monsters Inc., Toy Story 3, and Finding Nemo. So what can be my number one? My number one film and my favorite animated film, and it's within my top 5 favorite films of all time. It has to be WALL-E. Yup, my WALL-E impression. That has to be my favorite Pixar movie of all time. It's within my top 5 favorite movies of all time. My favorite animated movie of all time. Best movie of all time for animation and Pixar. I mean, many people are gonna say Toy Story. Those are the best films. Finding Nemo again, great films. Incredibles. Many people, many people are their top favorite film is usually like one of the Toy Story movies, usually Toy Story 3 or something like that. But for me, it has to be WALL-E. I mean, to begin with, it's the first half of it. The first half of the movie is basically the silent film. I mean, it has its noise and whatever. You have WALL-E, when he's messing around with Eve. But for the most part, it's more or less a silent film, and he barely says anything aside from his name and Eve. He's like WALL-E and Eve. WALL-E just says like 2 words, and yet you instantly love the character. He's so likable. Really fun. Really like the movie. I mean, yes, I am a bit of a sucker for romance films. Titanic, another great film in my opinion. One of my favorite films of all time, again, Titanic. So you could say I'm just a sucker for romance stories, and by that logic, Pixar has made one of the best romance stories then, because I mean we've seen them do a pretty great job with superhero films. You know, we've seen them do a great job with emotional films several times, but this one was different because not only was it their first venture into love, I guess you could say. I mean, they did a bit of it in The Incredibles and a bit of it too in Ratatouille, but this is like their first full-on venture into a love aspect in the film. But they also did something that most animated films don't do, and that was make a silent film. For most of the movie, it was a silent film up until the point where they're in the rocket ship. It was a silent film in my opinion, and in my opinion, it's one of the best silent films or semi-silent films of all time. Really great film. Beautifully animated in my opinion. One of the best animated features of all time. One of the best. One of my favorite movies. Again, within the top 5 favorite movies of all time for me. Just great. Again, you care for the characters instantly. Eve and WALL-E, they're really funny. They're really great. Great chemistry for these two robots. So yeah, I mean, and one of the funniest things is that there's actually this conspiracy theory or movie theory that WALL-E is technically a killer, a robot killing machine. It's really a really interesting theory, which I'll leave an annotation over here. Yeah. So if you guys want to check that out, go check it out here. But it's really interesting. I'm not gonna spoil it. Just click the link over here. But overall, really great film. And yeah. And when they're down on Earth, planet Earth, you see how intricate they are, how great their animation is. Because again, we knew that they could do great animation. We've seen it with Finding Nemo and them doing the sea and stuff, and then we saw it again in the future, such as with Inside Out, when they had the emotions be kind of just like energy. But here we saw the landscape. We saw how great their animation actually is. We saw a landscape that was just a bunch of debris, a bunch of garbage, and yet you can see every single little detail, every nook and cranny within the garbage, and it just looks fantastic. My favorite movie of all time for animated films, within my top 5 favorite of all time. Just to run down over my top 5 favorite films of all time, it's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. After that is Edward Scissorhands, then The Dark Knight, then WALL-E, and then 8 Miles. And honestly, those could be interchangeable at any point, but that's usually how the list is. So yeah, again, one of the best animated films of all time, one of the best movies of all time. And honestly, I'm kind of upset that this never got nominated for Best Picture. It was animated for Best Animated Picture or Animated Film, but it was never nominated for Best Picture, which is pretty interesting because the year this was nominated, or should have been nominated, or the year this came out, 2008, 2009, for the Oscar awards, it was the same year as the Dark Knight came out. They were discussing. It was kind of around the same time when they decided to make the Oscars from like 6 movies to like 10 movies, which they've never actually used all 10 slots. And I heard rumors, or when I later found out that I later found out in life a couple years ago that apparently originally they were gonna actually put Dark Knight and Wally in some of those spots, but that never happened. And yeah, but it would have been really cool to see an animated film. Actually, we've seen animated films be within the top picture, but for this movie to be nominated for Best Picture, that would have been amazing. And then also to have The Dark Knight actually be nominated for a Best Picture. We've never really seen a superhero movie be nominated for Best Picture. They usually get snubbed unless it's like sound mixing and editing and movie effects or whatever, special effects. But aside from that, they normally don't get nominated for much else. You do have this posthumous Oscar with Ledger, but that's a whole different issue. Whatever, getting off topic again. Wally, best movie ever. Best animated movie ever. And yeah, so just to run over the list one more time, honorable mentions we have Inside Out, Monsters University, Brave, Cars, and Cars 2. And then number 10 is Up, number 9 is Bugs Life, number 8 is Toy Story 2, number 7 is Incredibles, number 6 is Ratatouille, number 5 is Toy Story, number 4 is Monsters Inc., number 3 is Toy Story 3, number 2 is Finding Nemo, and number 1 is Wall-E. So that is my list of my top 10 favorite Pixar movies of all time. What are yours? Comment down below. Or what's your favorite Pixar movie of all time at the very least? Or top 5 or whatever. Comment all that down below. Let me know. Like the video, share on Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, or whatever you guys prefer. Subscribe. I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, and comic book reviews. And if you guys want to see more list videos or stuff like this, I know they're a bit long, usually going between 20 and half an hour, because they do take some time to make and me talking. So I know they are a bit lengthy, but if you guys want to see more videos such as this, I will be open to do it. I am maybe thinking of doing my top 10 favorite comic book films. That could be a thing I could be doing in the future. I don't know. Watch out for that. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the list. And yeah, as I said before, comment down below on your favorite Pixar film. What's your favorite Pixar film, or top 5, top 10, whatever you guys decide. Comment all that down below. Let me know. Again, like the video, share on Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, or whatever you guys prefer. Subscribe. I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, and comic book reviews. And aside from that, that's basically it for now. This is Daniel Mart signing off.